So, I just found one hell of a writer from this website called Harper's Bazaar. Her name is Jennifer Wright, and she has 2 articles that I'd like to read through. And they are by no means fun. Stay tuned. No. You have been warned. Let the demonetization process begin! You see, I never did a video specifically addressing the Me Too movement. I mean, sure, I touched on the Aziz Ansari issue. Never did I specifically address it. Now, that was because I was waiting for something such as this to pop up on my radar. You see, the Me Too movement wasn't necessarily a bad thing. I'm glad we're being open about things, in a sense. I just wish that maybe women would go to the police rather than to Twitter. That's where it lost me, with the supplementation of posting about sexual mishaps on Twitter or Facebook or in articles, anonymously, that is, any and all sexual mishaps, not just the really bad ones that took place in people's lives, instead of, say, going to your local precinct and reporting said sexual assault to your local police department. Now, I didn't know where to put this or how to headline this, but honestly could go either way, into the everything is sexist category or in the biggest of bigots playlist, which I have yet to add to ever since Trey Melvin graced us with his premiere there. These articles have everything that you could possibly want in a shit show, and incidentally a comprehensive list of everything that was absolutely wrong with the Me Too movement. Goody. Collectively associating females as victims. Check. Collectively associating males as predatory. Check. Conflating accusations with convictions. Check. Blaming the white man for all of your problems. A duh. Check. Requiring said white men to make reparations. A double check. Internalized misogyny. More or less terms. Check. The distinctive lack of specificity that is the hallmark of a straw man. Check. Now, incontrovertibly, these 2 articles go together hand in hand. The first article, however, was from October 25th of last year. The second article was from March 8th of this year. A whole 5 months between the 2 articles. So we get a good rounded out view of the whole Me Too movement from this single perspective. And I just want to preface my entire video by saying that this is Jennifer Wright's perspective. I'm not going to make the claim that this is anyone else's perspective, although I'm sure that is somewhat the case in some cases with some people on some level, although I'm not doing that in this video. I am simply criticizing Jennifer Wright and her perspective. That is all. When women rush to defend men accused of sexual assault, they make it a little bit harder for other women to come forward. Now, remember for this article going forwards, and in the next one even, that every single point that Jennifer here makes has been prefaced under the moniker of simply a male being accused rather than convicted, which, let's be honest, there is a difference. That's fundamentally where the author and I differ on the subject. We're both looking at. For her, accusations are enough to ruin a man's life. For me, however, I'm going to need a lot more than just one person's word to do that to somebody. And on some level, Jennifer is aware of the difference and the consequences of outright labeling all those you've merely accused of as being guilty, having in fact prefaced sexual assault with accused in both articles, rather than guilty. You'll see this a lot in these types of articles, actually. People being unwilling to outright name anyone specifically when speaking generally, or assign a definitive label to anyone specifically. This is because we're aware, or they are aware, that making such an accusation in the public space can backfire on them instantaneously if someone actually were to take them to task on it. Much like sexual assault, a disgraced name in the reporting world that's been dragged through the litigation of defamation lawsuits is the equivalent of mud. Yes, the perpetuation of false information is rampant in the reporting industry, but what happens if you take it too far in the wrong instance to the detriment of the wrong individual? Well, we have a few examples of those disgraced reporters getting their just desserts. It's enough of a looming threat over anyone's head for us to receive an abundance of strawmen in our media. Why do women rush to the defense of abusive men? Allegedly abusive, Jennifer. Remember your headline, my dear. I don't mean these men's wives, or friends, or mothers. I understand entirely how love can override reason, even when it shouldn't. Sometimes I joke to my husband that for all my principles, if he came home and said I murdered somebody, within half an hour I'd have figured out how we could get false passports. To flee the country together. Obviously, I hope that never happens. However, I realize that deep love can sometimes cause us to abdicate our principles. So, when mothers are willing to do everything to defend their sons against sexual assault allegations, or when people's wives stand by them no matter what, I'm sad. Mostly for them because they've been put in a horrendous position by someone they love deeply. But I'm never surprised. It is, at least at first glance, much more surprising when women who seem to have less of a deep emotional investment in the accused men decide to back him. Why is this, though? Honestly, think about it. Don't comment your answer just quite yet. You'll get around to answering it in a minute, Jennifer, but I want my audience to think of the possibilities. It's odd, for instance, to see Lindsay Lohan rush to Harvey Weinstein's defense against numerous assault allegations. More accurately, in since deleted postings on Instagram earlier this month, she claimed, I feel very bad for HW right now. I don't think it's right what's going on. I think Georgina needs to take a stand and be there for her husband. This next sentence that Jennifer quotes from Lindsay Lohan in her article answers the earlier question that I posted from Jennifer's surprise. And I think it's very telling. He's never wronged me or done anything to me, and we've done several movies together. I think everyone needs to stop. It's wrong, so stand up. Lindsay Lohan is hardly the only woman who has come to the defense of men who have been accused of assault. Now, I'm not defending Harvey Weinstein, of course. I think that should he be found guilty in a court of law, he should serve his full sentence. No exceptions, possibly to the highest caliber that he can serve those sentences. But let's dive into this question of why do some women come to the defense of men who've been accused of sexual assault? What's the reason usually? Oh, he's never done anything to hurt me. See, we've touched on the first hallmark that is collectively associating females as victims. And what Jennifer can't seem to grasp, that is so simple a concept I could preach it in my sleep, is that of individuality. More specifically, individual experiences. And that's important when contemplating people's motives, right? It's an important part of behavior. In psychology is people's individual experiences, what makes a person individually. And you can take an aggregate of all of the averages that you want of a person, but no two people have the exact same experiences between them. That's not something a lot of people understand. It's something that I myself struggle to understand daily in my interactions with people. Of course, I sometimes have a tendency to assume behavior or motivations of people that I don't necessarily know, but does that make it right? No, of course not. We need to be better in that sense. And now Jennifer goes into a plethora of examples of the exact behavior type that she is so concerned with. Sometimes I watch these women and wonder, what are they getting out of this? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. They're merely voicing their individual experiences and opinions about a person, which seems to be such a convoluted concept for you, Jennifer, that women can have different opinions and outlooks on situations, and from you, no less. Obviously, that's a thought crime with sizable consequences. You are honestly so far removed from reality that I am concerned. In many cases, I doubt that they even know these men, or at least don't know them well enough to devote their energy to defending what seems likely to be really bad behavior. And that's an example of your own opinion, not a fact. Recognize the difference, please. The best and saddest explanation I can find comes from Emily Gold. She tweeted, "Many, many men fear and hate women. Many women, because they are conditioned not to side with the losing team, also hate women." That's the best you can come up with, and here I was thinking women were supposedly emotionally intelligent. I'm probably borderline autistic. Look, see here, the results from the internet quiz I took this morning at 2:30 in the fucking AM. And even I know there are a plethora of reasons as to why women might not share your opinions on matters of such nature. Chief among them, that they are not a blithering know-it-all who's self-important enough to think that her views are the end-all, be-all benchmark for anyone with a pair of tits and some eggs. Me, personally, yeah, I hate interacting with a lot of women because they annoy me. It's not a sexist thing, though, because there are a lot of men who I also hate interacting with because they also annoy me. I am not the best person to ask about socializing with other people. That should be noted. I want that on the record. But that is determined on a case-by-case basis. To be a woman defending women against men is to be very often on the losing team. And therein lies your crucial mistake. We are not on a team. I am not part of anyone's collective. You do not speak for me, thank you very much, just as I do not speak for you. I don't think you want that, Jennifer. Back the fuck off, you conceited clunge nugget. Looking briefly at the men who have been accused of misconduct with women, Harvey Weinstein, Johnny Depp, Bill O'Reilly, Bill Cosby, Woody Allen, Casey Affleck, R. Kelly. Now, as I specified earlier, this is one of the older articles, so Jennifer is not up on the up and up at the time of writing this, so let's cut her a little bit of slack, gentlemen. You'll note that despite a hefty amount of evidence against them, not much really happens to them. They don't go to jail. When they go to trial, they're found innocent. Their careers suffer minor setbacks, perhaps, but most still find a way to make movies or write books, even if they can't do it at the level they once did. Speaking out against a powerful man as a woman is an exceedingly vulnerable exercise that can often feel fruitless, as we watch Bill Cosby, who 27 different women accused of crimes including rape, assault, and harassment go free after mistrial. Okay, so just so you can get caught up and so everyone knows, the justice system in this country is fucking extremely slow. You want to know why that is? Well, because there is a fucking caseload problem in this country that would make your head spin if I attempted to quantify it for your small mind, Jennifer. But I'll make an effort to dumb it down for your sake. You see, every year across the entirety of the United States, consistently we have an aggregate caseload of over 1 million. In fact, in 2017, the caseload was 1,527,769. That is cases filed minus the cases terminated, and adding the cases pending across the U.S. Court of Appeals, civil courts, criminal courts, including transfers and bankruptcy courts. That does not include post-conviction supervision, nor does it include pretrial services. So yes, the justice system doesn't really have a good track record of expediting things in the slightest, but that's because they have a backlog longer than my fucking dick. And a polar opposite of Trump's promise that we win so much we'd get tired of winning, to try to defend women is to lose so often you get tired of losing. Because of course we need an obligatory Trump jab in there, don't we? It's not surprising that some women think it might be advantageous to go to bat for people who don't seem to show women a great deal of respect. And maybe it will be. Hey, I don't know, maybe men will decide that you're one of the good ones, valiantly piping up on behalf of men accused of assault everywhere. Maybe this is a strategy that will work out really well on an individual level. You know how you kind of sound like to me, Jen? You sound like every single black identitarian who's ever called another black person an Uncle Tom for not agreeing with them, or any white identitarian who's called me a race traitor for not also being a white identitarian. You've called these types of women sex traitors and everything but name. What do you think that means for you, Jennifer? How do you think that makes you look? But at an individual level isn't enough. It shouldn't take more than 27 women for women to be believed that they say bad things happen to them. It doesn't take 27 women, actually. It takes one accusation from a non-involved third party to ruin a man's prospect in life because he and his girlfriend have a non-vanilla sex life. See the case of Title IX's Matt Bormeister, whose girlfriend, the alleged victim in this incident, vehemently denies any wrongdoing on Matt's part. I could go into a great deal of detail of various cases of the same kind of nature, but I won't, because I have an entire series dedicated on my channel to that, Jennifer. At a time when the overwhelming majority of people accused of sexual crimes go free and false accusations are shown to be exceedingly rare, we need to think about how to create a better system. Citation please, Jen, because I brought mine to the table, lady, and let me tell you, rarity is a rather generic term to use, don't you agree? You see, the usual rate of false accusation is between 2 and 10% according to the study called the False Allegations of Sexual Assault, an analysis of 10 years of reported cases. Now, if we're to believe those numbers, both of them actually, and project that number to a national scale encompassing the number of rape cases of the general public, not including children, not including inmates, and military, 321,500, 2% of that number is 6,430. 10% of that number is 32,150. So how about you tell me, Jennifer, the names of the bare minimum 6,430 men who you are okay with being falsely accused in the name of a better system? Does injustice, even in perceived rarity, make it acceptable, Jennifer? Are you willing to do away with your principles of justice when it benefits just your agenda? If that's the case, then they're not principles, are they? This will take some time. There will be probably more losing before any great gains occur on this front, but when women jump forth to defend men who already seem to have the belief of much of society on their side, they make it a little bit harder for other women to come forward. You know what makes it a little bit harder? There are a number of factors, actually. Fear of reprisal, personal matter reported to different official, not important enough to respondent, belief that the police would not do anything to help, belief that the police could not do anything to help, did not want to get offender in trouble with the law, did not want family to know, did not want others to know, not enough proof, fear of the justice system, did not know how, feel the crime was not serious enough, fear of lack of evidence, and unsure about perpetrator's intent. There are a number of factors. Half of them are due to the victim's own perspective, outlook on the crime, Jennifer. And that's too bad, because the woman who needs to come forward could be any one of us. Yeah, so we should encourage them to go to the police about it, to report it to the proper authorities immediately after it happens. We should educate people exactly as to what sexual assault and misconduct is, rather than simply having consented to some comedian fapping in front of her or had a shitty date with another comedian. We should encourage women to take every single piece of evidence that they can possibly think of and then some immediately to the police after the incident has occurred so that they can prosecute with as much ferocity as possible. We should teach them to scratch their assailant, bite them even, so that there's physical evidence of having been a struggle even. We should encourage women not to give a fuck about being cordial with others when it comes down to the brass tacks of their existence and their very, justice that they seek. That they will not be fucked with, and that to assert that with clarity. There's so much that can be done to help victims of sexual assault, but at the same time, it is not right to sacrifice a number of people's lives in the pursuit of being vigilant. Okay, I'm done with that steaming hot pile of shit. Moving on to the next steaming hot pile of shit. Should we forgive men accused of sexual assaults? On International Women's Day, Jennifer Wright hopes for a world where we have faith that humans can be better. Lately, I keep rereading a certain scene in Angels in America. It's a play about gay rights and incalculable losses of the AIDS years, but it's also a play about America and mortality and forgiveness. It should be noted that while being all of those things, it's also boring as fuck. At least it was with me when I saw it being performed live. 10 out of 10 do not recommend. There's a scene in it where Roy Cohen, a person described as the holster of human evil, and in an interesting note, Donald Trump's old mentor, dies. His nurse asks a friend to say the Kaddish, a prayer of forgiveness over his body. His friend expresses disbelief that he could be asked to forgive someone who did so much wrong in the world, but in the end he does. It's a beautiful scene. Sometimes when I think of the long list of men who have done wrongs that have been revealed only lately, I wonder if I could do the same for them, if any of us should forgive them. Seeing as they didn't do anything to you personally, I don't see why it fucking matters that you forgive any of them personally. It's so difficult. When I hear a chorus of men saying they are frightened of the times they are living in, frightened of the Me Too movement, I think of the man who snickered that I would probably get a job in his office if I gave the boss a blowjob. That thinking is what is wrong with the Me Too movement. That is what constitutes as sexual assault. No, fuck off. It's just words. Words only have as much power as you give them. Or the man who grabbed my ass on the street. Jen, take the palm of your hand and shove that guy's nose cartilage back a few inches, why don't you? I'm a simple woman. I enjoy simple solutions. Or the man who climbed into my bed when I was drunk. Kick him out of the bed with your foot and onto the floor. That is how you do that. Or don't get drunk and sleep in a random person's bed. Or the man who hit me. Call the police or hit him back, or both. I don't give a fuck. Do something. Or the guy who wanted to drive really slowly next to me as I walked home late at night. I mean, he can do that. It's a free country, but I mean, if you really want him to stop, pull out your spring action tactic force and tell him to fuck off. That's probably what I do. If that ever happened to me. But it doesn't. Come on, ladies. It's not that hard to get a guy to lose interest in a female person. I do it all the time, which says a lot about me. I've said it before, predators look for meek victims, those who won't fight back, because those are the ones who they can take advantage of easily. Fucking duh. And I think, fuck their fear. They've been scared plenty. What we're taking from them is nothing compared to what they've taken from us. And again, you're assuming that all women are exactly the same in that respect, and that's simply not true. I've never been in a situation with a guy next to me who scares me. Never been catcalled on the street that I can remember. Although I think I would remember something like that. I've never been hit by a guy more than once that I didn't hit back. Unless it was a sanctioned fight, that is. I've been in my fair share of physical fights. Sue me, I'm a black belt. We spar as part of training. Apparently all of this shit is not universal. Jen? What? No. Men have had so much privilege for so long. It certainly feels that white men have never had to suffer much in the way of consequences. We got a twofer over here, ladies and gentlemen. One is blaming the men as the innate bad guys, but specifically white dudes, right? And they never seem to suffer much in the way of consequences. Interesting. Oh, honey, just because you feel something does not make it so. I call upon my trusty sidekick FBI crime report statistics for 2016, arrest statistics by race. There were 18,606 rapes that year, documented by 13,049 different districts. Of the people arrested in these cases, 12,571, or 67%, were white perps. The second highest group, being 5,412, or 29%, were black perps. Do I need to point out that the 29% is already highly inflated for the numbers of that particular demographic? So I see men fall from grace and I rejoice, because I do not think you are owed an extremely well-paying job if you behave like a scumbag. To the people who have to work with you, I don't care how people behave in a work environment, so long as they don't do anything illegal and they do their fucking job. Also, so long as they leave me the fuck alone. That's the most important thing. I do not think that getting fired and taking a large buyout package is the ultimate degradation. Neither do a lot of people, Jennifer. You're not special in that regard. I was ashamed and embarrassed, Bush 46 tells people in this week's issue on Stan's Friday of the scandal. And then I went through stages of grieving because I lost my career. For a man, that's the ultimate degradation. They were not owed positions of power by virtue of being alive the way we are owed the ability to feel safe in our own skins. Honestly, though, I'm not gonna lie, no one's owed a goddamn thing in this life. Everything that you happen to take for granted, the internet, your right to speak, the fact that you've not been married off by your parents or eaten alive by a tiger at the young age of 3 months, is merely an amalgamation of factors that just so happen to come by chance and put you in the optimal time and place to enjoy the luxury of your current life's situation. You only have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness by the same free-thinking white men who wrote that. In all criminal prosecutions, the accused shall enjoy the right to a speedy and public trial by an impartial jury of the state and district wherein the crime shall have been committed, which district shall have been previously ascertained by law, and to be informed of the nature and cause of the accusation, to be confronted with the witnesses against him, to have compulsory process for obtaining witnesses in his favor, and to have the assistance of counsel for his defense. But also, e incumbit probato qui dicit, non qui negat. The burden of proof is on the one who declares it, not the one who denies it. These are simple matters of fact of this land. If you don't enjoy them, you're welcome to leave. They think they've suffered? Please. Do you want me to cite some more cases of falsely accused men whose future prospects have been ruined, Jen? How about the fact that sexual assault doesn't even encompass being made to penetrate? That certain first world countries even today neglect to include male sexual assault victims in the possibility for prosecution. England, I'm looking at you. I have so many videos dedicated to the antithesis of this specific sentence, it's not even funny. Watching this feels good. More than that, it feels righteous. You're an absolute sadistic fuck, and certainly not the fun kind, Jen. It's hard for me, I think, for many of us at least, I hope it's not just me, to feel like sympathizing, let alone forgiving. I told my conservative mother, who was a corporate VP in the 80s, that I was thinking of writing on the topic of how women could begin to forgive, and she paused for a long moment and said, "Do you think you could wait until a few men in business get taken down first?" Sure she did, Jen. Maybe their being afraid isn't such a bad thing. Just imagine for a second how deluded one has to be to rant and bitch and moan about how women are afraid, and then turn it around not a few paragraphs later and talk about how it's not a bad thing, and men are afraid. How's that for some prime-time sexism? Maybe some fear will make men more thoughtful about their actions. Maybe it will make some of the men growing up now in an age of consequences require less forgiveness in the future. I want you to imagine, madam, being afraid your entire life around a member of a certain demographic, that you have to tiptoe around them, that you treat them differently, perhaps being so afraid that you separate yourselves from them. Oh wait! Isn't that what we don't want to do with people who are different from us, or minority or whatever? Not that women are minorities. They're actually, I think they're the majority. They're half the population of the fucking world. Come on, guys. Isn't that the last thing we want to do with people who are different? Treat them differently than we would other people who are not different because of who they are? No, of course not. We have to consider that they have a vagina, they have a sexual preference, they have a different skin color, and thus are incapable of handling someone else's behavior because they're different. How's that for being absolutely fucking out of it? But what of the men of the current age? There is a long list of the ones who have done wrong and been outed for it, and there are many more who should be scared. There are men who have done bad things to women, and we sometimes find ourselves in the terrible position of loving, or at least liking, those men who have done bad things. It may be that they are artists whose work we've enjoyed. More difficult, it may be that they're friends or husbands or brothers. There are a great many men who we would not want to write off entirely. So what can be done in these cases? I believe that they should make reparation for their misdeeds. Which people and which misdeeds do said people owe women reparations for? But I believe there must be a path to redemption too. While we think about men who must be removed from their position of power, we should also think about what those men can do to earn redemption in our eyes. We should be asking that, insofar as forgiveness is possible, what would merit it? Which men? For what? You haven't said a goddamn thing. Off the top of my head, as far as notable men go, I'd like to see them work behind the scenes to facilitate female creators, donate to organizations like Time's Up, fight for pay equality, stop hedging their apologies, because these public conflicts ultimately have to be healed the same way private conflicts are healed, with genuine acknowledgement of wrongdoing. Which horrible sexual assaulter do you think is redeemable, Jennifer? I'm just curious. Or perhaps you just want us to forgive the nice guys who get caught up in some fucked up allegations that hold merit. I don't know, because you won't fucking specify. And accepting that their careers might be over instead of fighting tooth and nail to remain in the public eye and possibly serving a prison term. I have very little interest in forgiving people who seem uninterested in apologizing for any misdeeds. Bill Cosby, Woody Allen, Donald Trump, who continue to deny allegations of abuse. Frankly, fuck those guys. But I think there are also men who are interested in doing better, who do feel genuine guilt and sorrow for the wrongs they've done and would like to be better in the future. Which guys would those be? Because I am a progressive. I believe people can progress. What? You don't say. I don't want the men whose bad deeds have been exposed by the Me Too movement to be sent off to an island forever. I want them to learn and to choose to be better people. There's a lot to be said for cleaning away the awfulness of old values. Which values, Jen? Which ones? Where we accepted that men could do whatever they wanted, and that was just the way it was. But after we tear down the world, we need to rebuild it. I hope we will rebuild a world where we have faith that humans can be better, even if it's naive, even if it's often disproved. What is the nature of hope and faith? And I hope we can extend that sometimes foolish optimism even to humans who have done bad things and treat humans in a way where they need not be reduced to the bad things that they have done. We can, each of us, change and strive towards what is good. What is good, Jen? What is it that you personally think that we could be doing better to help the women of the world not be victims? Because what is there really beyond hope that people can do better? Women have rarely been in a position to be angry before. Oh fucking shit. The Salem witch trials. For starters, you remember that time in history when women were accused of being witches and were assumed guilty until proven otherwise? Sounds familiar, right? You want to know how people were usually deemed a witch? Jen? By way of someone else's testimony against them. Sound familiar? But we've rarely been in a position where our forgiveness was not automatically assumed before. Giving it out judicially to those who earn it, that too is a kind of power we deserve. Oh, now you want to get judicial. It will not be easy, I do not think. At least not for me. But as Angels in America says, it isn't easy. It doesn't count if it's easy. It's the hardest thing, forgiveness. Which is maybe where love and justice finally meet. I wonder how you can forgive someone, though, who's merely been accused of something, Jennifer, as you so eloquently prefaced in the article title, in both of these article titles, who's not been found to actually have done it. I think it only right that we present Jennifer the Strawman Award for unyielding neglect in her argumentation. Congratulations. Now, if you like me and my content enough that you want to support the channel, you can certainly check out the links in the description of my Patreon, my Amazon list, and my Teespring store. If you don't like me nearly as much as that, that's totally fine. I totally understand. You can always like, comment, share, and subscribe for more. Peace! Whoop.